Hi, I'm gonna analyze the novel Maps for Lost Lovers written by Nadeem Aslam. I'm only going to analyze a sequence of the text, from page 96 to 102. And I'm gonna cut this up in four pieces. The first page, the second page, the third page, and the fourth page. And after that, I'm going to talk a little about setting, relationship with her mother, characterization of the main characters, and the main themes. Well, let's start off by first page. We get to know who the people are in this text. We get to know who Ma Jabin is, and she's actually the protagonist. And we get introduced to her mother, Kaukab. We also get introduced to her husband, who's actually her cousin. And we can read about that on line 26 to 27. I'm gonna read it out loud. And so Ma Jabin has never revealed the truth about her marriage to Kaukab, to the extent that there are times she herself believes that her husband, the cousin she had gone to Pakistan to marry at 16 and lived with for etc. 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 This shows us that Ma Jabin's husband is actually her cousin. We also get to know how Ma Jabin's marriage is to her cousin, and how her husband is using bad words and bad language towards her, such as on line 31, where we can see he uses a wanton, shameless English whore, which could indicate that he's a very he looks down on her. He is suppressing her. But later on, we get to know why Majabin chooses to stay with him. And that could be because she's scared of what her mother could do to her, or because we can read it on line 26 to 30, where it says that he's deeply in love with her, and that could be the fault. That could be the problem why Majabin is actually scared of leaving him or getting a divorce. Um, and on line 31, we can see that he is abusing her. Here we can read that she says her she says that he grabs her by her throat in a grip as strong as a tree root to call her, etc. And that's where we know he abuses her. Second page. On second page, we get to know that Majabin and her family is actually immigrants from Pakistan. We can read about that on line 9, where it says, I saw a girl wear a kamis, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but a kamis, I think. And a kamis is a Pakistani traditional clothing, which means that Majabin has some sort of Pakistani origins. We also get to know more about their culture, such as on page 10 to 11, where it says, Girl from Fay Street who had wanted to marry a Hindu boy but was made to see sense and married to a first cousin. This shows us that the that the culture is using what's using arranged marriage. It's called arranged. Sorry, I forgot. Arranged marriage. And also on page, yep, arranged marriage. Yes, it seems like they don't want to be integrated in this country. On line 12 to 16, you can read it here. It didn't work out because she didn't get on with him. She was very young then and still influenced by the ideas she must have picked up from school and her teachers and friends, from life in general in this country. But she agreed to be married off a second time and is perfectly happy now. This where they say from the life in general in this country means that they don't really want to be integrated in this in London, in England. They want to have their cultures and their values and arranged marriage. So they don't want to be integrated, and that's why she says she must have picked up from school and her teachers and friends, and still influenced by, the English people. And that's not what they want. They want Pakistani culture. Yeah, and that's what we get to know in second page, more about immigrants and more about arranged marriage. Well, third page we get to know more about how their culture is, and we also get to know that Kaukab and Majabin are Muslims. They talk about fasting in Ramadan and Eid, which is holy days in Islam. You can read about that on page 14 to 15, where it says, "No, the Ramadan is in autumn. I just fasted for 2 days to ask Allah to bring me peace." She shakes the spoon to draw the girl's attention, etc. This just shows us that they're Muslims, and that's why their culture is like that. And we also get to know how much of a relationship her mother and Kaukab has, such as her mother being mad that she didn't come to Eid festival, and Eid is just like Christmas for Christianity, and Muslims have Eid. And Kaukab is actually very disappointed that she brought her children to England because she don't like the values in the English society. She wanted to be more Muslim based, such as she's saying it on line 27 to 32. I'm gonna read it out loud. Kaukab has returned to the cooker. It's my own fault for having brought my children here. No one would need reminder in Pakistan when Eid is or Ramadan. The way no one can remain unaware of Christmas here. We can see that Kaukab is not frustrated, but just irritated that she brought her children to a country with no Muslim values and no Muslim culture. And this page just shows us they're Muslims. Yeah. Fourth page, we get to know that Majabin actually has two brothers who got arrested. Just a little reminder, and on this page we also have a lot of metaphors, but we can just pick one, such as on line 19 to 20, where we can read. I need to find it. 19 to 20. The porous white steam above the pan begins to turn into black smoke. This could indicate that Cub's anger towards Majabin, such as white smoke symbolizes happiness and good, and black smoke symbolizes evil and bad. And on the last, the fifth page, we get to know more about how their culture is, such as using you can read it on page 16, where it says, "I think yes, I have a packet of henna here." Henna is normal Islam culture. It's like a tattoo, not a real tattoo that stays forever permanent, but a tattoo that gets that will vanish after some weeks. And at last we see that Majabin actually uses the thing where she says, "Oh Christ, what a difference does it make who she was with?" And this just shows us that Majabin actually wants to be integrated in this culture, the English culture, and she's using "Oh Christ" instead of using a Muslim sort of way of saying it, like, I don't know, saying "Oh Allah" or something, I don't know, but she is actually saying "Oh Christ." And Kaukab actually gets mad and says, and do not try to sound white by saying things like "Oh Christ" because you don't impress me. This just shows that Kaukab actually don't want to be integrated, but Majabin is on the way to get integrated. And this is the big difference between them two. This means that Kaukab is still in this Muslim culture, while Majabin, her daughter, is sort of moving over to English culture. And this whole story is actually just about culture clash between English culture and values, and between Muslim culture and values. Well, now we are on to setting, relationship with her mother, characterization of the main characters, and the main themes. I'm going to start off by saying setting. Well, this story takes place in England. The setting is a big impact and has a big impact in the story, such as the whole problem of immigrants don't want to be integrated in this country, and how they don't appreciate English standards. Actually, we hear about Kaukab saying that it was her fault bringing her children to England. This just shows us that she do not appreciate English standards and values. So the setting has a big impact. It means a lot in this text. With her mother. Well, it seems like Majabin is kind of afraid of her mother, such as on page 1, line 25, where it says that being the key to happiness, and so Majabin has never revealed the truth about her marriage to Kaukab. It seems like she's scared of how Kaukab would react to her telling the truth about her marriage and how it is. And actually, we see that she's actually very scared of her, such as on line 33 to 37, where it says, Maujab's languishing feet are tangled in this thick, etc. This shows us that she's afraid and is holding on to something. So, all in all, I can conclude that Maujabin is actually afraid of her mother, but actually still loves her in some sort of way. But yeah, I just think that's the culture, and you need to see the elderly people as more wise. So you need to be afraid of them. It seems like that. Characterization of the main characters. Well, Majabin is just a young girl trying to find real love instead of being with her arranged marriage cousin. Majabin is just a Pakistani girl who lives under Pakistani rules and culture. She is married to her cousin, which is arranged marriage, as I said, and she's trying to, just talk about how she's feeling. And Majabin's husband. Well, Majabin's husband is her cousin, is Majabin's cousin, and he abuses her and uses bad words towards her, such as I said last time. He's calling her English whore and is taking her by the throat, which is abusing and using bad words towards her. And Kaukab, who is Majabin's mother, is still in for the Muslim culture and wants arranged marriage. And she don't want to be integrated in this country where it's only Christianity and they have no such Muslim-based culture, and they don't have arranged marriage or Ramadan or Eid. So she's very, what should I say, mind isolated. She don't want to get integrated. So yeah. To the last thing, the main themes. The main themes of this, I have 4 main themes: immigration, marriage, love, and culture. Well, I used immigration because they're immigrants and we get to know how they live, such as their culture, and how they use arranged marriage, which is actually love, and the story is about love and how arranged marriage is in the culture of Muslims, and that should be the main themes of this story, of the sequence of the story: immigration, marriage, love, and culture. And that's my analyze. See you.